and I work for Newport Historical Society as a history walking tour guide. A little bit of history on the Wanton Lyman Hazard House. Why is it called the Wanton Lyman Hazard House? Well, a fellow named John Wanton was one of the owners of this property, and his daughter Polly, when she got married, they bought the house. She married a fellow named Daniel Lyman, and the Lyman's second daughter was Harriet, and when she got married to a Newport lawyer, Benjamin Hazard, they bought the house, hence Wanton Lyman Hazard. Built 1697. Some experts over at London conducted some dendrochronology of the circles in some of the timbering here, and dated, sort of confirmed, if you will, dated the house based on that to trees that had been felled in the winter of 1695-1696. So originally built for a fellow named Stephen Mumford, a prominent fellow here in town and a founder of the Seventh-day Baptist Church here in Newport. And then it's going to go to Mumford's son for a while. And then it's going to go to a fellow named Richard Ward, who will end up being one of the governors of Rhode Island, Richard Ward. And we also had then a tailor and a tanner. And then in the 1750s and 1760s, owned by an interesting fellow named Martin Howard. And Martin Howard is an ardent British loyalist. So when England starts passing new taxes after coming out of the 7-Year War with France, the Sugar Act, the Stamp Act, and so forth, those new taxes didn't go over real well with the fiercely independent Newport fellows, entrepreneurs, and so forth. So we have a lot of tax evasion going on and smuggling and so forth. And Martin Howard will write pamphlets posted around town kind of chiding his neighbors. You should be absolutely paying these taxes to England, and after all, she protected us during the war, and it's your duty, and so on and so forth. So, as you might well imagine, Martin Howard, the ardent loyalist, is not necessarily a real popular guy with some of his neighbors around town. And in August of 1765, which will be not quite 6 months after the passage of the most despised new British tax, the Stamp Act, the Newport Sons of Liberty, led by William Ellery, who would become one of Rhode Island's 2 signatories to the Declaration of Independence, they stage a protest right there in front of that red brick colony house. August 1765. They build a gallows and they create from straw 3 effigies of the 3 most despised British loyalists. They hang the effigies and then burn them. So you won't be surprised to hear that Mr. Howard was one of those effigies. He escapes out of Newport. The next day, that crowd proceeds to his house here and inflicts considerable damage, externally, windows, and internally as well. They even raided his wine cellar and made away. So he gets out of town, protected by the British. And then a few months later, at auction, the house is bought by a man named John Wanton. And John Wanton is a prominent merchant. He's a Quaker. And we're going to the Great Friends Meeting House next. So it would actually be John Wanton who will live in this house with his wife, Mary, and 2 children, Polly and Gideon. And they are here, living here throughout the British occupation. And the British are here from 1776 to 1779. So I've brought you sort of up to, okay, Wanton sounds familiar. It would be his daughter who marries the fellow Lyman. This would have been considered a pretty grand house back in the colonial days. Built here just a hop and a skip from Spring Street, so called because where we have the vestige of the old Citgo gas station, that's where the town spring was. So the only source of fresh water in Newport. So you're going to want to build your house as close as possible to the town spring. Built in, as they say, the vernacular with the sharply pitched roof. And let's see. Oh, the chimney. I don't know if you noticed the chimney. It's massive. So built 2 stories, 1 room on either side of the center chimney. And getting back to Martin Howard, this crowd of Sons of Liberty, led by William Ellery, even threw a rope around the chimney in an effort. They wanted to pull the chimney down. They weren't successful in so doing. So we'll see those 2 rooms on either side of on either side of the central center fireplace. The decorative pediment here was added by John Wanton during his tenure. Inside the house, all the paneling and window seats and shutters were added by Martin Howard during his tenancy. Oh, and let me just point out before, if you just would come up to the corner. The Wanton Lyman Hazard House was one of the earliest buildings designated a National Historic Landmark. But this section to the left is not original to the house. This section was added in 1722-ish, 1725. That's the kitchen, and we're going to go inside the kitchen. Do I have any questions? All right. Up in the attic. Anyhow, he discovered a bundle of cowrie shells, pins, beads, stones, whatever. And it was determined that they were part of a Minkisi bundle, M-I-N-K-I-S-I. And very common in West Africa for persons to prepare these bundles and then tuck them away, sort of to ward off, whatever the beliefs were, evil spirits or what have you. And I'm told, I believe I was told that it's kind of a practice. It's still a practice for some Native Africans. So that was quite a find.
Wow, that's
And that
African Americans Museum in Washington. That's where it's displayed.
Great.
Oh,
That's where the Minkisi bundle is today.
Yeah.
So you know more about that?
I've seen it there.
Yeah. So that would also give us further verification that at one time persons of color. Deborah's going to start walking you over to the Great Friends. I have to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's head this way.
Oh, this way.